Hello and welcome to Large Format Friday. I'm your host, Matt Marrash, and if this is the first time you're stopping by the channel, be sure to subscribe and check us out each Friday where we're going to have a new aspect of the large format photographic process. And there's a growing playlist of the rest of the videos right above. So to recap, we've covered cameras, lenses and shutters, a few of the large format fluff or accessories, film holders, but let's really get down to the most important thing, that's holding your camera. The sticks, your tripod, the most unsung hero when it comes to large format. I know it kind of sounds like a boring topic, but you're going to want to get an adequate tripod and equally an adequate head. How do we choose that? What are the factors that go into it? That's what we're going to chat about today. But before we get to that, I want to give you guys a little story, a little backstory. Why I'm so hardline about tripods. It's been beaten into me since day one. I took one college course in photography, and that was Digital 101. We had this really hard-ass teacher, Professor Jeff, who always gave us a hard time every time we were in class. Get a frickin' tripod. He didn't care what camera you had. He knew you could make anything as long as you had the solid foundation. So each and every class, he drilled it into our heads. Get a frickin' tripod. And it must have worked because that's kind of become my catchphrase when I teach digital photography courses. Get a frickin' tripod. If you don't have a solid tripod, you're missing out on over 50% of what your camera can do. I mean, it's what's holding up the camera that you're watching this video through right now. So just, get one. Okay, so when you're looking for a tripod, there's three important factors to consider. Number one, how tall or small does the tripod go? Number two, how heavy is the tripod? Is it something you're okay carrying around? And number three, how much can it hold? What's the carrying capacity of that tripod? For each and every one of these three things that's going to be more favorable for what you're doing, the more you can expect to pay for the tripod. For example, if I want something that's really lightweight, goes really tall, and holds a lot of weight, it's probably going to be a high-end carbon fiber tripod from Gitso or Really Right Stuff, one of those super expensive tripods. If you're not going to go too far with your large format camera, let's say it's not going to leave the studio, you can get a really heavy-duty old aluminum tripod that goes really tall, but it's also just kind of hulky and you're not going to take it around everywhere with you. So for each one of those three factors, carrying capacity, height, minimum and maximum, and weight of the tripod, for each one of these factors that's going to be more favorable for you, just remember to add a little bit more to your budget. And there's nothing wrong with getting a used tripod. I've only ever bought one tripod new, and well, it's definitely not new anymore. This is my Enduro CT414. It's carbon. It holds about 50 pounds worth, which is awesome. It handles my Takahara as well as my Scene RP2 in the studio, and it also holds the beastly tripod heads that I put on it as well. When you're shopping a large format tripod, I have a good rule of thumb for carrying capacity that you should be looking for. You want to take your heaviest camera, which is usually your large format camera, and your heaviest lens. That combination, you want to make sure the tripod can handle at least double that, twice as much. So for example, my Takahara, this is about 15 pounds, and my heaviest lens, I'll show that to you later, that one's about 5 pounds. So I need to have something that holds at least 40 pounds. That covers all my bases for any sort of weird movements or large extensions that I'm going to do with my camera. So while getting the right set of tripod legs is important, you're also probably going to want to have some movement other than up or down with a tripod column. You're probably going to want some sort of adjustable tripod head. There's several different types of tripod heads, and all of them are applicable for large format, despite what you may have read on the interwebs. This first type is probably the most popular type of tripod head overall, but not necessarily for large format. This is a ball head. A ball head has an adjustable ball that when I unlock the ball, I can start to maneuver my camera right on top. It has a quick release plate system right on top here. I just lock it down when I want it in place. And this one also has a pan axis. So I unlock this and then I can move my tripod 360 without changing my ball adjustment. Ball heads in large format are kind of contentious because some folks just don't want the entire heavy combination falling forward or falling backward. That's why you just want to make sure you get a really heavy-duty head. This monster here is a FOBA. They still make these things new and they're kind of expensive. I buy a lot of my stuff for large format used. I got this thing for a screaming deal, like garage sale prices, and it's been awesome. I use this as my travel one. The next type of head that you can get is a two-way or three-way adjustable head. Those have individual axes of control, so kind of like the pan axis of my ball head, I can control pan, tilt, and roll on there for a three-way head. These tend to be the best bang for your buck in a tripod head, meaning they hold a lot of weight and they are pretty inexpensive usually. A lot of modern digital photographers don't want to use a three-way head unless they're doing very specific tabletop food photography or architecture photography where they want to get those very small adjustments going on. And kind of similar to that two-way or three-way head, we also have our geared tripod heads. Now there's a lot of really high-end tripod heads that are geared. This is not one of them. This tripod head is not light. It is super heavy. This thing weighs about 4.5 pounds. The reason I love it though is because it holds absolutely everything I need it to. Okay, so this is my Majestic geared head. What's nice about this, that column lock at the bottom acts as a pan axis. It's not the smoothest thing in the world, but it moves the entire setup. This tilt on here is on a drive gear, so all I have to do is turn it counterclockwise to back it up and turn it clockwise to move it forward. And then if I want to kind of roll the camera left and right, I can unlock this guy, and this is more like a two-way or three-way head that I can do this. And it has a little bit of tilt there as well. The large format camera focuses by pushing the lens further away or closer to the ground glass. That's how you achieve focus. We're not twisting a barrel, we're physically moving our lens closer to or further from the subject. When you start putting on really big heavy lenses like this one right here, my Nikkor triple convertible, we have a lot of weight that is now extending over top the center of our tripod assembly. This can be problematic if we don't have a tripod and head combination that can handle that total weight. One of my favorite things about the tripod that you see here and the quick release system that I'm using is this NovaFlex quick release base. It's still locked, but it allows me to shift my center of gravity. So now I have a much more even distribution of weight. It's not all pushed to the front or to the back. And then I can lock everything down so now it doesn't move at all. So as soon as I start doing movements, nothing is too shaky. It's rock solid. It's not going anywhere. This is a huge advantage to using an adequate tripod and tripod head. The last thing I want to cover when we're talking tripods, tripod heads, and other accessories for holding the camera is the quick release system. How you're going to attach and detach your camera. A lot of older type heads like this Majestic or this Foba here, they might not come with assemblies to add your camera on and off, a quick release system, if you will. I tend to use the newer sliding plate type ones known as an Arca Swiss type system. Both of these heads have Arca Swiss style quick releases. This one does it by twisting to lock and unlock. It just kind of holds the plate with tension. And then I also have this little NovaFlex. It's called the Q-Base quick release system. This is a two-stage quick release base. It has an actuator pin here in the center that once I drop a plate onto it, it locks down tight. And then I can still slide the plate forward and backward before using this horizontal lock right here. Let me show you using the plate that's at the bottom of my 8x10 camera. Now I'm using a wide angle lens, so it looks small here, but this plate is actually huge. This is a 150 millimeter plate, so I can slide everything front to back. Just watch what happens when I drop it on. So now it's locked. It can't fall off of the top of the head, but I can still slide everything front to back. This system was designed for macro and super telephoto photography, which tends to work really well for large format as well. So once I slide everything into place where I want it, I can lock it down, and now everything is completely tight. I can go about the rest of the time not worrying about the camera on top of my tripod and head and just worry about making good art. Well, that about does it for tripods, tripod heads, and quick release systems for your large format camera. Do you already have a system at home that's going to work well for your large format camera, or is it time to start looking at new and used options? If you have any questions on your hunt, feel free to drop me a question down below in the comments. I get to each and every one of them as soon as I have a chance. Thanks again for stopping by today, and we'll see you next week for some more Large Format Friday.